Good evening, folks. We're going to call the Development Review Board meeting for December 9th to order. First order of business, roll call, all members present except John Bauer. Phil Carter is on Zoom. And we are recording, right? Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay. First, next on the agenda, we're going to open the recess public hearing for Shaw's Supermarket. We did not receive any new information in regards to the Shaw's, but being that last meeting was only a couple weeks ago, it's too soon for their bi-weekly or bi-monthly updates. Board have any questions or things to talk about for Shaw's?
I don't.
Phil?
Nothing, George.
Okay, I make a motion that we recess Shaw's Supermarket until next month's meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
Is Abby taking notes?
She goes off the recording.
Okay.
Yep,
Good point.
if she's not here. Discussion, is there anyone on Zoom with their hand raised? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next on the agenda, we're going to open a new public hearing for Nicholas Almansetti.
I'll say it.
Okay, there we go. Go ahead, Jared.
This application is number SUB 24-014 for the applicant Nicholas Alimanistianu. The application is to divide 1.15 acres into 2 lots. The hearing date is today, December 9th, 2024, 6 p.m. Public posting was at the town clerk's office, town hall bulletin boards, post office, and town website on November 22nd, 2024, and in the newspaper of record, the Vermont Journal, on November 20th, 2024, and the abutting property owners were notified on November 22nd, 2024.
Thank you, Jared. Just as a note, we did receive a packet of information from the applicant that is listed in the index page that was provided to all members of the DRB for review. For those parties who are interested to speak to this hearing and this hearing alone, I will swear you in, and you just raise your right hand so I can see who you are, and then I'll swear people in. Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the matter now under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury? I do.
I do.
Okay, so we've got one. We've got Dean. Okay.
Rosemary and that guy.
Well, yeah, Rosemary's staff.
Yeah,
No, so I just want to make sure that we got everyone that's. So come on up to the podium, sir, and state your name for the record and tell us about your project.
Nicholas Alimanistianu. I'm subdividing the property because I'm putting a tiny home on the lower portion of the property, and access is a lot easier if I have a divided property. Also, it makes it just a better way to go.
Okay, so does anything else you want to tell us initially before we start with some questions for you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Can
you hear him okay, Phil?
I can. George, I've been on mute because Jared hollered at me and told me I'm supposed to be on mute.
No, you don't need to be on mute. You're on the board.
When he's not talking. when you're not talking, Phil.
He said I made too much noise.
Oh, that's okay. That's good noise. No, I just want to make sure, being that we've got a large Zoom crowd today, that everything's well heard. So, does anyone on the board have questions to start out? Okay. I'll go first. So, are you familiar with the subdivision regulations that are in come in a packet that looks like this?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay. So we did receive your packet of information, which did have a, which is listed in the index. So we're going to start on the big map page. That's called preliminary here. So, let's see.
If you want to state the page number.
Yeah, when I get,
Down there at the bottom.
oh, 00031 is the one we're starting with. So, under the subdivision procedures, this is being submitted as your sketch plan for your application. Just some things that I noticed offhand in there under, just so you reference of which section we're under, which is section 2.1, and we're under section 1.
Sorry. Okay.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Just follow along.
Yep, so we're on Article 2, under that it's section 2.1, and we're on number 1, which is sketch plan application. And that then goes on to the next page, which is page 6 on this printout. And basically it goes down through Alpha through Juliet that lists the things that need to be on your sketch plan. The first one that brings things that kind of come to mind to me that are not on there is slopes in excess of 15 degrees. Your slope of your property is pretty steep, and that's not depicted on your sketch plan on what that elevation looks like.
Nobody mentioned that to me.
Okay, so that's why you're here, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, they try to guide you the best you can, but these are the rules we follow, right? So we're gonna kind of help you guide you on that process. So, because the amount, if you look through the regulations, the amount of slope that is on the property dictates how we may be able to make those decisions. The steeper the slope, the higher the risk are for things like flooding, stormwater, etc. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. So, being that we don't have the ability to tell, or I don't at least, we did have a site visit. All the members did visit the site at various times on their own. We did have the scheduled site visit. I think you walked out when Jared and myself were there at the official one. Based off my view, there looks to be, there at least a chance that there's slopes over 15 degrees. And that's something that needs to be on your site plan. One other thing that's the next one down, so we're on F, just so you can follow along. Surface waters and associated buffer areas. So below where you're desiring to build, there is some sort of stream there.
Yes.
So that also needs to be depicted as well.
That's on the survey.
Yeah, well, technically it's this blue dotted.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's the boundary of the, okay, my bad, sorry. So the other things that we're going to talk about is the location of proposed development. So where this goes into is that you pulled a permit, if I'm correct, for what's called an accessory dwelling unit.
Yes.
That's correct. And now with a subdivision, that will be the primary residence.
It will be a primary residence? Not my primary.
No, but it will be the residence for that lot, sir.
Yes.
Correct, right?
That's correct.
So it will no longer be an accessory dwelling unit.
Well, yeah, I'm going to use it as an accessory dwelling.
But what you're here for is, what in India is the location of proposed development, including building envelopes, streets, driveways, utility easements, related site improvements, and location of proposed open space, land to be held in common and/or features to be preserved. So what that is talking about is what's the intent of your subdivision. Being that this process is kind of the way you started the process is not necessarily the recommended procedure. Most people start with the subdivision.
I understand.
And
that.
so when it talks about proposed development, you have actually started development. So with that in mind, that needs to be taken into consideration. You do have a building envelope that is depicted on your map. However, there is no parking areas depicted. We have some penned in from our office, but that needs to be provided for on the official sketch plan. Also the exact dimensions of what you're building.
The exact?
The exact dimensions of what because we are coming at this not at stage 1, but you have already started.
Right.
that also leaves into consideration that being that you pulled a permit for an accessory dwelling unit, you're no longer building an accessory dwelling unit, or at least that's the intention of this permit by getting a subdivision.
The intent was really the difficulty in parking.
I understand that. I understand that.
And to bring it, extend my driveway from the bigger house down to the tiny house was a big procedure. As a matter of fact, I think I spoke to your father about it. I'm sorry to hear about.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
He helped me with the big house.
I'm aware.
And we'd have to cross over a culvert, and just to bring that driveway down would be very costly, just unsightly and not very.
I understand that that is your desire, but this permit isn't just for your use. Let's talk 5 years or 10 years down the road if you choose to sell one of the units, right?
Yes.
And so that is why when we talk about these things, it's not just, oh, that you right today, this is what your plan is. This also looks for, hey, in 2 years, I want to sell that. That it needs to all be talked about as if it was a standalone, right? That's why you're doing a subdivision.
Yeah. And the state.
We'll talk about parking soon enough.
Yeah. Well, the state also made that point that they want the waste to be for a 2-bedroom, although it's a tiny house and has only 1 bedroom, is only 280 square feet. We're putting in enough for two bathrooms, 2 bedrooms.
I understand that that's what the state wanted to do based off what they wrote. So that is also kind of a concern of looking at where the things are, because we're not talking of proposed, we're talking of actual development and related to the sites. Also being, you do have.
Stand. Technical difficulties.
That's okay. Nope, that's okay. Nope, that's all good. That can work better? Okay. Oh, okay. Is also listed in here is your utility easements and et cetera of those natures. Did notice that you have at least some utilities already, but those need to also be depicted on your site plan.
Okay.
Does anyone have questions in regards to where we're at so far? Or any new questions from the board?
I guess I want to know, when I went on the site review, there were some stairwells being put in, stairway. It's not on the map. Is that where the parking area is?
It's from the parking area down to the house.
And do you have a measurement on the parking area, how big it is?
The parking?
Yes.
Well, it has to be 30 feet deep, according to the highway department, and I'm making it almost 30 feet wide. So it's 30 by 30, basically.
And then it would be to the, away from the road, it would be the rock.
Yeah, in other
I saw
words,
that thing that you already put up there.
In other words, 30 feet so that the cars can be 10 feet from the pavement.
So it's based off of
I saw that.
on that access
That
permit
one
that
there.
we just
Yeah,
got?
I saw that. I worry because I grew up there on that hill, and that is a hard area where you're going to access. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough coming down. It's tough going up. You couldn't have cars on the road there.
Oh, no.
They can't. They would
No.
It would cause a horrible accident.
They maintain it very well, though.
I think Phil's ready to talk.
Oh, is that you, Phil? Is that the sign? You're,
Not yet.
oh, okay. I'll just give a shout when you want to get tapped in.
Okay.
Let's see here. Number, page 19. So, since we're on to parking, we're going to go to page 19. And we're going to go to number alpha. So this is the biggest concern about the parking area that I've seen. So I'll just read alpha off the top so everyone understands. It says a site triangle of sufficient size to provide view for a safe stopping distance as determined by a combination of traffic, speed, terrain, alignments, climatic extremes. Generally, sight distances should be 11 times the speed limit. A curb cut on a road with a 40 miles per hour speed limit would require a minimum sight line distance of 440 feet, which provides a stopgap of 7.5 seconds of travel time. So being that you're where we have penned in, but needs to be officially put on there, is you're kind of, as you come up that hill, right? That's one thing that I see as a concern, is that enough distance of a sight line to provide traffic? Because I would assume, based off of that, they would pull into the site and then want to back out. So having enough sight line, tonight's a great example. Coming up through, you're gonna build up some speed, going this, let's say speed limit of 35, do we have enough sight line? So that is of question for that traffic to be able to sufficiently stop in time when they back out of your driveway or pull out of your driveway. That needs to be addressed.
I spoke to Ron about that, and he said that was a good location because it's directly across from.
I mean, we have his access permit, but these are also considerations that this board needs to take under.
Sure.
So, anything else on the parking area?
Yeah, George, I have a couple things.
Okay, fire away, Phil.
I want to refer back to the chief of police letter. His last sentence says, "I do not see how a driveway entering onto Southfield Road would be safe." In our zoning, and I'm going to mention a few things, in our subdivision regulations, and I'm going to point out a few things. The purpose of our subdivision regulations. I'm just highlighting a few things. This is section 1.2, purpose. To protect and provide safety and other things conveyed in general. I'm just highlighting a few things here. To ensure that the land can be subdivided in such a character that it can be used safely. To promote safety from fire, flood, and other dangers. To avoid undue traffic congestion and overburdening of roads, highways, and intersections. Very nice. In section 4.2, character of the land, we have to consider undue adverse impact on public health and safety. And section 4.3, fragile features. Lot layouts and building envelopes shall be located and configured to avoid any adverse impact to fragile features. And these are including what you mentioned, George, the slope of the land, and includes wetland flood areas and slopes of excess of 25% and surface waters. That stream at the bottom, is there construction in that stream?
Oh, no. Construction?
There's nothing in the stream, there's nothing within 25 feet of the stream?
No, nothing within 30 feet.
Good. That stream runs year round.
Yes, I've been through
In the flood of 73, it took out Southfield Road. So it's not a little stream, it's substantial, which begs me a question that I'm going to ask Rose in a second. But in section 4.3, number 4, a stormwater management or erosion control plan prepared by a registered professional engineer may be required and incorporated as a condition of approval. That stream feeds into Jewel Brook, Jewel Brook feeds into the Black River. So I don't know what type of mitigation you have in that stream right now. What are you doing to protect the stream right now as we speak? Is there hay bales down there? Is there erosion control in place?
Silt fencing is what we have.
You got to speak into the microphone.
Oh,
so he
sorry.
Can hear you. Yep.
Silt fencing, we put down there before we started digging.
Is it effective? Is it still there? Is it?
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, it hasn't collected anything except leaves.
I saw a backhoe last Thursday when that road was a complete cluster of cars off the road, so on and so forth. I saw a backhoe over the bank digging. So all that disturbed soil and construction work is going to end up in that water if the water's not protected.
That could happen, but we do have it protected, and nothing has gotten down past that silt fencing.
Good, good. Where are you gonna put the snow?
You mean when we clear the parking?
Yeah, when you have a 2-foot snowstorm and it's coming down hard, where are you gonna put the snow? And you're gonna have cars in the parking lot, where are they gonna go when your snow removal crew shows up?
Well,
Okay,
I don't.
Where the town plows snow from Lawrence Heights right into your parking lot?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
They haven't done. They haven't.
Deliveries, where's the UPS truck gonna park, or the Amazon truck?
Well, that's why the parking lot is fairly big.
So a big UPS truck plus 5 cars in that parking lot would accommodate everything?
No, absolutely not. No,
Okay,
but
well,
it's
here's the point of this.
it's
This
a one.
is an extremely dangerous place you have here. When Julie already touched on it, and George touched on it, but cars are trying to come up the hill, and cars are trying to come down the hill and not die, literally. Because once you start down Ford's Hill, you're committed. You cannot back up. You cannot stop. You have to go. And cars coming up are trying to gain momentum. And this is all happening right in front of your parking area. So that's a concern. And if there's a car in the road or a delivery truck in the road or any obstacle to prevent these cars from doing what they think they have to do, then we have an unsafe condition. And I'm just saying this, you don't have to respond to me, I'm throwing this out for the record. And I just wanted to ask Rose, I'm going to go back to the stream. Does A&R need to look at this, Rose, do you think?
Yes, I would say they would.
Would that be your office that contacts them to have a peek?
We will contact them at this point, so usually it's the homeowner, but we will contact them.
Okay. That's all I have for the moment, George.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. I want to touch on one thing that Phil did briefly mention, which is 00012 from the index, which is Chief Billings' letter. This board doesn't go against letters to serve. And being that you're in a unique situation. Normally with a subdivision, we're talking about proposed development. Currently, we're also including what's being developed, being that it's already it's not necessarily proposed, it's already in the works. And as Phil stated, as it stands now, this is a quote from Chief Billings, as it stands now, I do not see how a driveway entering onto South Hill Road would be safe. I mean, that's his professional opinion. That's something that needs at least further digging in and discussion, just so that you understand the severity of what that simple sentence says, at least to the matters of this board. Does any other board members have any questions? Okay. So,
Rose has
can
a
I
hand.
just?
sorry, go ahead, Rose.
I just wanted to point out that the new construction that he's building with the deck down, further down by the whatever in the gully, that does not have a proper permit. So the permit that he applied for originally had the house coming off of the original access and then closer to the other house that's already there, so as an accessory dwelling. And now it's not an accessory dwelling, and it's not in the same location, and it also has a deck around it that did not get applied for in the beginning. So I asked them to stop construction, and they did for about, I don't know, a week or so, but they've already they went back and put in the sewer lines and continued to do work on the stairs and stuff like that after they were asked to stop construction until all the permits were in place.
Okay. So that was one thing I did want to talk about as well, was being that the permit that was previously applied for and granted is not the case of what they're building now. Is that correct? Is what you're basically saying?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I answer that?
Okay, go ahead, sir.
The deck is a little bit bigger. Well, it's bigger, but we had a deck on there, a 10 by 10 deck on the plan.
So the bigger issue, sir, is that the permit you applied for was for an accessory dwelling unit. You're no longer building an accessory dwelling unit, which basically voids the permit that you received.
Oh,
Is that correct, Rose?
I'm sorry.
And,
George?
Yeah, is that by it not being an accessory dwelling unit, that would void the permit that was previously granted?
That reason, and also the fact that it's not where it was permitted to be, and also like the deck is not 10 by 10. So, and I don't believe there was a deck on the original permit, but that's something we can double check. I think Jared might have the permit.
I do have the original building permit here. There's no deck specified. There are no drawings of any deck or stairs on the original application
So,
for building permit for one ADU.
right. So, see, this is the problem that we're running into, is that the previous permit that you applied for isn't what you actually decided to build. There was no communication, and/or the communication wasn't clear in how you wanted to change and those implications of those changes. And being if that you were asked by the zoning department to stop construction and have since continued construction, that's an even bigger issue that we need to talk to our legal team.
Can I answer that?
Go ahead.
The only work we're doing is putting in the stair, and that's landscaping. It's not part of the construction of the unit.
Okay. Rose, when was the request made to stop construction?
I would say it was a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
About 2 weeks ago, and since then they also put in the sewer line.
Yeah, so based off evidence that's been provided by staff, it's clear that you did not follow the requested. And I think that means that we need to talk to legal counsel. We'll continue this hearing with further questions from the board, but that is something we need to also address. That there is, what you applied for isn't what you're building. And I know that you might disagree in concept from your point of view, but we're no longer talking about an accessory dwelling unit. You're getting a subdivision, that will be the residence of that place. That's going to be, in the terms of zoning, a single-family home on its own.
Okay. I did have a permit for the deck, a 10-foot by 10-foot deck. I know that I paid the fee for that, so I want to make that clear because that seems to be a stickler.
And so this is why the process is laid out to get your subdivision first. Because now we're playing basically, you've come to this board for a subdivision, construction's already started, it's different than the original permit, and that's why we're in this mire.
So let me just quickly add, there is 10 by 10 under deck porch for the original description of only ADU 1 bedroom.
Okay.
So it kind of snuck in there. But there's
Okay.
nothing on the site plans or
Okay.
drawings
And
for
it's up question
construction.
whether or not it's bigger than 10 by 10.
Right.
Okay.
Can I mention one other thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Jim Brooks had a permit in hand to put in the water, and that's why he did that. It had nothing to do with my permit.
Just because you got an allocation doesn't necessarily mean that you go ahead and go around the Development Review Board.
I didn't even
I
think
understand your
about that.
frustration.
He said, "I'm coming, I have my permit, I'm coming." I said, "Oh, okay."
So,
I'm not trying to break the rules here at all.
I'm trying to explain the best I can of what the situation you're in and why we're in the situation that we're in. And it's the goal of this board to try to helpfully guide you through that process. And that's why typically the first step is to come for the subdivision hearing. I know that plans may have changed, and that's, things do happen and plans do change. But it is the goal of this board to help you through those process of the rules and understanding what those are. And that there's less of a financial impact to you if we start at step 1, not at step 5. And that's where we kind of find ourselves, is that you've kind of leapfrogged ahead of us here. And so if the board makes a decision that those are the way things are, that may be not the way that they're currently built or in the process of being built. And so that's why I'm trying to explain it. So, and I understand your frustration. I can see that on your face. This isn't everyone gets treated the same here at the board. We have a rule book we follow. We don't write the rules. We follow what the rules are. Does any other board members have any questions?
George?
Yep, go ahead, Phil.
I want to point out in our subdivision regulations, and these subdivision regulations are readily available. I mean, not to be aware of them is not the DRB's fault or the planning office's fault. It's the applicant's fault. You can walk in and get them. Rose and Jared would be more than happy to guide any applicant through the process. And let me just say in section 4.6 of our subdivision regs, number 2, it says clearly, traffic to be generated by the proposed subdivision will not create unreasonable traffic congestion or cause unsafe conditions on public roads in the vicinity of the subdivision. It's as clear as can be. If you had come to the board for the subdivision initially before you started, I don't know what you were thinking, to be honest, because we could have had this discussion and then you would have been clearly guided by the board on how to proceed, as opposed to, as George said, you're at step 5 and we're still trying to figure out step 1.
May I speak?
That's all I have.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
The reason that we changed the idea of doing the driveway that way was because of the difficulty of putting the driveway from my existing house to there. It was not that I wanted to try to change what I was doing.
But it did change, and that's the fact. That's what we're seeing.
And I understand what you're trying to say, but as Phil said, through the process that has come about, this is a change, right? And the planning zoning office is there to guide you. These documents are readily available also on the town website. And understanding that those changes, when you decided to make that decision, hey, we're not going to do an ADU anymore, we're not going to use the same driveway, that you got the access permit, you're starting this process, but that wasn't conveyed in the sense of, hey, let's go to the DRB because before we start construction, because that's step 1, is come talk to us when it comes to subdivisions. And these concerns would have been talked about before any investment of money in the physical sense of building driveways, prepping a building site, etc. And that's what we're trying to now hammer back out, is all the things that are in those subdivision regulations.
Okay.
Does any board members have any other questions?
This unit's only 14 feet off the highway? This building you're putting in?
No,
It's on your plans.
So that's the building envelope?
that's the building envelope, but that's what the surveyor said the zoning was for that area. That's
I
what
was
he
just
put the
curious,
zone.
it says it's 14 feet from the highway right there.
So the building envelope's 14 feet. So they can build up to within 14.
The minimum distance in the village is 10 feet.
Yep.
No, I was just curious if it was that close to the road.
So, and that's where it comes down to, where you've got your building envelope. We don't have a plan that shows where the building actually is, right? So we have a building envelope, which is 40 by 40. And the structure that we have pictures of that are in construction right now is clearly not 40 by 40. At least not the whole unit
Yeah,
itself.
it's only 8 feet by 37 feet.
Yeah. So that's another thing that needs to be on there, at least in the certain parts of this discussion. So on the site visit that I went on with Jared today, we did see some I don't know if it was, I think it might also be, is that depicted in one of the pictures? The water that's flowing from underneath where the unit is?
It is.
Okay.
Try to reference a page if it's
Yeah.
stamped. Where you're doing that. Maybe page 19, upper right.
I'm sorry, 819?
19? Yeah, okay.
And
Yeah,
then
there we
also on 22.
Okay. So from location, so would be 00019. If you look at it, legal paper style would be the upper left hand near the staple fold. When we went for the site inspection, there seems to be a considerable amount of water coming from in between those pillars. Did you put in any drainage in or anything, or, okay. So can you tell us about that?
Well, we put drainage around the footings.
Okay, around the post fitting?
No, around the enclosed area.
Okay, and that's where that comes out? Okay. Is there any other places that drainage comes out? Or is that the only place? Okay.
Well, on the sides and underneath.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I guess want to just ask, I know when I was up there yesterday, they were still constructing. Was there construction done today? Is there going to be construction done after we leave tonight?
The only thing we're doing, the house is waiting to be put on. It's completely built, and we would have put it on, but there's a crane coming to put it on. And we haven't done that because we were asked to stop work, and that's what we stopped.
Okay. Until we get all this straightened out, it's best that you not continue forward. There's financial we don't want you to invest more money into a project that may result in changes. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. And that follows up with the Planning and Zoning Office's request. Just as we go through here, so when you submitted paperwork for the subdivision, and you got your to serve letters, that was in reference to a subdivision. So when we look through here, we have the one we've already talked about quite a lot is from Chief Billings. The fire department letter from Chief Ben Whalen. His conditions, any future construction shall be permitted prior to construction. And then there's that from the ambulance, that all parcels need to have the according E911 standards with reflective numbering. So just to go through those, let's see what else we got here. So while I look through here, I know we swore in one other gentleman from Zoom. We do want to give them the opportunity if they had questions or comments. That's Mr. Alexander. You were sworn in. Did you have anything you wish to say? You are muted, sir.
Yes, thank you. I just wasn't sure if this was the right venue for me to speak, but I do agree with everything the board is presenting. I think that, I was blocked from coming up the road a day or two ago. The road is damaged, and it's not the right time of year. It's not going to be fixed until next spring. I think this project is way out of hand. And I appreciate everything the board has presented tonight. I think they're doing a good job. And I just hope that, I would ask, you know, as I have further concerns, where should they be directed?
Planning and Zoning Office. And thank you very much for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
So, board have any other questions?
No, who was that man?
That was Dean Alexander. He was
He's a-
sworn in.
Okay,
Yep.
no, I know that, but I was just curious.
He's in
who
a
it was.
butter on the
So
North right side.
this is the biggest concerns I view is right now. So we've got currently a to-serve letter that says that a reference, so I don't misspeak.
Page 12.
Is it 12? Thank you. All right. As stated by the police chief, do not see how a driveway entering onto South Hill would be safe. That's concern one. There's also potential sightline complications and how that's viewed safely. We've got some stormwater implications, some building that was done. There was a permit pulled, and now there is a question that you're building something different. So you have a lot of, is it someone from Zoom?
The slope of the land.
Oh,
The slope of the
we've got the
land.
slope of the land that's of question, and how those impacts might be. You have a couple of choices, sir. And I always try to put this to the applicants themselves, is that you can say that I've submitted what I think is enough of a packet, and we can make our decision off that. We can also recess this hearing, and you can try to rectify the problems that we've brought forth. Either of those choices are up to you.
I'm not sure I quite understand the two choices.
Okay, so I can repeat. So choice one is that we can close the hearing tonight, and we can make a decision based off the information we currently are provided. That is option one. We have already expressed our concerns. Option two is we can recess this hearing, and you have the opportunity to gather and attempt to rectify and bring these items to, like, how can we address these things? That is my recommendation, is that we
Well,
recess the hearing.
I certainly
But
understand that there are issues that you want rectified, so
correct.
the packet's not complete.
I'd like to make sure that everyone understands that they do have choices. Obviously, it is our desire to help guide you in this process. But those are your choices. Would you like that opportunity to try to rectify the problems that we have found? And outside of the hearing, the Planning and Zoning Department can help guide you to try to bring that information, talk with your engineer. Does that sound like something that's...
Yes, that's the way to go.
Okay. Does any other board members have questions?
I just wanted to make sure that we added, I'm sure you said it, George, but the A&R to address the stream.
Correct.
I know that's going to be handled at the zoning. but I
Yep,
just
but
wanted to
that's
make sure-
something that we need to have.
Make sure to put it in there,
Basically
too.
part of the stormwater portion.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
kept a running tab. I just, that was all I
Sounds good.
wanted
I
to
do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else, Phil, you wanted to mention?
No, I think we covered everything. It's on the record
Okay.
at this point.
I make a motion that we recess this hearing until the January meeting.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Anything else you'd like to say this evening, sir? Okay.
No,
Okay. Is there any hands on Zoom?
There are no hands.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you very much.
okay.
You can keep that. More than welcome to. I'm sure I'll see you in the office soon.
Next on the agenda is the minutes for November 25th. anyone have any corrections for the minutes of that?
I have on page 2, but does anybody have anything before page 2?
I have page 1.
Page 1,
let's go
okay,
page
go
one.
ahead, Phil.
Yeah, on number 4,
4.
about the last quarter, it says, the sentence says, George Tucker says they try to avoid making this
Oh, see that.
specific exemption because they take up a significant amount of footage. I would add to that sentence on other lots.
Okay. Yep, I know that was quite heavily discussed about coverage onto other lots.
And number 6, the first sentence, Bill Carter asks if the neighbors are aware that it should be he is, not they are.
He is.
Okay.
I asked if the neighbors were aware that he was encumbering their property, not that their
that's
property
right.
is.
Okay. Yep.
Julie?
Is that it for page 1?
That's all I have, actually.
Okay, on page 2, I just have number 16, the third line down, the first option. Just a typo,
Oh, yeah.
very simple.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else. Does anybody have anything else?
Did anyone have anything before page 4? Okay, so 39 on page 4. I made the motion, but there was no listed who seconded. So if I remember correctly, there was a motion made, and then there was most of this was made during the discussion phase. A lot of this happened. I just, it's not listed here who seconded, and
I think John did.
John did, okay.
John Boyer.
Okay, anyone have any other corrections?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as corrected for November 25th, 2024.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Under we got other business. We did receive today a bi-weekly letter from, bi-weekly letter from the mill, which we do have for review after the meeting on your own time. Anything else under other business anyone needs?
We didn't hear anything from Shaw's.
No, it's too soon.
It was too soon. They were.
2 weeks off.
It was,
Yeah, still is.
being that the last meeting was at the end of the month last month. So that will come up hopefully for next month.
Okay.
With that, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, folks. Appreciate you coming to tonight's meeting. Have a good evening.